Hello and welcome to today's webinar, 8 Tips for Better Use of Bluebeam. I am Alyssa Chartier and I'm pleased to be your moderator today. We look forward to helping you out today. And if you have any questions, please take advantage of our fully customizable webinar console below. You can click and resize any of these widgets during the presentation. We've got a nice survey widget for you, Q&A, and bio, as well as other things. Please visit our website, asti.com, to see how to achieve your design and business objectives through our innovative solutions, training opportunities, and services. And I'm going to put in a plug for myself. Please visit asti.com/webinars to see how to achieve your design and business objectives and to get free training. Before we completely get started, I would like to push out a poll to you guys. And the question is, what release of Revu are you using? 2019, 2018, 2017, other, or I do not have Bluebeam Revu yet. And if you don't, the add-on to that is I'm planning on getting it. Hopefully we see some interested parties here today. So I'm going to go ahead and push that to the audience. Oh, it looks like we've got neck and neck 2018-2019 users and some people using other. Be sure to drop what you're using if you put in other in the chat box below. We'd love to hear what you're doing. And without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get into this presentation. Thank you.
So, drawing a line, all right, come up here to the Tools menu, Markup, and I can draw a line. All right, simple as that. I can also pull this off the toolbar. So over here on the right, I have the toolbar for the line command. And again, I can draw a line. Now, if I come up here to the Tools, Markup, Line, you'll notice here to the right, it says L. All right, there's a little L right there. And what this is, that's the keyboard shortcut. So rather than trying to find it someplace in the user interface, I can just hit L. And again, no space, no enter afterwards, just the letter L. And now I'm drawing a line. All right, if I want to draw an arc, that's A. And I can now, I'm sorry, not an arc, an arrow, that's A. If I want to draw an arc, well, I can go find out what the shortcut is. So I go Tools, Markup, Arc, and you can see that's Shift plus C. So I'll do Shift, C, and now I'm drawing an arc. It's easy to find it. Most of if you go through the menus, it'll show you what the shortcut key is. If you want a list of all the shortcut keys under the Help menu, there's the Keyboard Shortcuts Guide. And this will show you all of the shortcuts, all the default shortcuts that are available in Revu. And as I was saying earlier, maybe you want to, print this out, tape it to the side of your monitor, rearrange it maybe a little bit, and then, you have this as a reference. One of the new things in 2018, so if you're in 2017 or earlier, this is the one thing that I was going to show you that you guys won't be able to do. We can now customize our shortcuts. So if you come up to the Review menu, that's up there in the top left corner, we can go into Keyboard Shortcuts. And this is where all of your shortcuts are, or all of you'll find all your tools and all of your commands. All right, so we have two sections here. We have the tools, right? And then we have commands. Personal preference. Tools. These are things that you shouldn't be running, right? So for example, the callout command. You should never be just running the callout command. You should have that tool on a tool in a tool set that has the specific properties for whatever it is you're marking up. Right? Now, this is not a thou shalt never type of a rule. This is just in general. If you're going to be using a markup, you should have it in a tool set so it's set up the way you want that markup to look. So I'm not a big fan of customizing the tools, but the commands are really handy. So those commands that you use a lot, right? So for example, maybe you're, let's see, here's one. Let's see if let's find one. The edit text command. Maybe that's a command that you use a lot, right? So what you can do is you can come in here and you can select that and you can put in a shortcut key. So you can make it whatever you want. Maybe in this case, I want to use R for edit text. Why R? I don't know, but that's what I want to do. So I can hit R, and what you'll notice is it says R is currently assigned to rectangle. Okay, well, maybe I don't want to redefine R to be edit text. I'm going to leave it as a rectangle. All right, well, maybe I'll put in a number. So I'm going to type the number 1, and it says this shortcut is reserved. All right, so your number keys are actually reserved for your My Tools up here. All right, so you can't redefine those to be anything but the My Tools. Okay, so 1 doesn't work. What about all? Here's the format painter is Control-Shift-C, so you can use combination keys. So maybe I'll do a Shift R. Well, Shift R is currently assigned to mark for redaction. What about Control R? Oh no, and you can do combinations. So I can do a Control Shift R, and nope, that one's reserved as well. Right? There's actually 3 altering keys. There's the Control key, the Shift key, and the Alt key. So what about Alt R? So I try Alt R, and hey, that one's available. So I can go ahead and add that one in. So I'll go ahead and add that, and then I can go through and adjust this however I like. Once I'm done, I can come out here, and now I want to edit this text. I do Alt R, and I can come in here and edit the text as I need. Right? So that's a handy way. Now, if you get in there and you're like, I want everybody in my organization to be able to have these combinations, right? Or maybe I want to back them up to a network in case something happens. Under your keyboard shortcuts, you can always export and import these settings. So I can export them out, save them somewhere. My computer dies, I get a new version of Revu, I can then import those back in. All right, likewise, if you mess this up and you're like, I just want to get back to the defaults, you can always come over here and restore your defaults. So those are the keyboard shortcuts. Those are really handy. Now, kind of along the same lines as the keyboard shortcut, we also have keyboard mouse combos. Right? So for example, back to the line command. So let me come over here and draw a line. So I'm just going to type L for line, because we know that shortcut already. And if I pick my first point and my second point, I can pick, well, just about anywhere that I want. If I hold down the Shift key, what you'll notice is it locks to 45-degree angles. So this allows me to say, hey, I want this to be horizontal, or I want it to be vertical. All right, and there we go. So let me draw another line, and this one I want to be at a 45-degree angle. Voila, there we go. So we can come in here and we use the Shift key to control that. Now, the Shift key does more than just that. Right, so for example, if I come in here and I draw an arc, right, I've never been a big fan of the way arcs work in Revu. So I pick the first point and I pick the second point, and it puts in this quarter circle ellipse. I don't get it, right? But as I'm going to pick my second point, if I hold down the Shift key, what it does is it makes it a circular arc, right? Which is much better in my opinion. Right? Release the Shift key, and it goes back to being an elliptical arc. Hold the Shift key, and it's a circular arc. Pick my second point, and there it is. Now, remember, there are 3 altering keys. These are the same ones that we have in the keyboard shortcuts. We have the Shift key, the Control key, and the Alt key. Now, in this particular example, the Control key doesn't do anything for us. But if I do the same markup again, so let me just do my arc again, right? And instead of picking the first point, I hold down the Alt key and pick the first point. What you'll notice is it puts a little X on the screen for me. Now, if I pick a second point, oh, check that out. The arc is now going through those 2 points. I pick a third point, and it creates a 3-point arc for me. Personally, this is the way I think the arc command should default to. All right, so that's another example. If you're doing an ellipse, same concept. Right? Pick the first point. I'm drawing this ellipse. If I hold the Shift key down, it makes it into a circle. Right? If I do the ellipse again, and this time I hold the Alt key down before I pick the first point, I hold the Alt key, I pick, and now I'm doing a center radius circle. Oh, yep, there it is, center radius. Oh, much, much better in my opinion. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, I need to highlight something in here. So maybe I want to highlight something here in meeting room 208. So let me go ahead and use the highlight command. Now, if I'm not moused over text, what you'll notice is I can just draw whatever I like. Right? But as soon as I mouse over some text, what you'll notice is the selection turns from just draw to, hey, I'm selecting text. Well, I don't want to highlight the text. I simply want to draw here. So as I mouse over the text, if I hold the Control key, it'll toggle it from, selecting text to not selecting text. So I can hold the Control key down, and then I can start drawing, and I'm not selecting the text to draw. I'm drawing on top of the text. All right, so that's another example of the keyboard mouse combos. All right. And what I recommend is just play around with them. Again, you got those three keys. You got the Control key, the Alt key, the Shift key. When you're in a command, just try one. You'll be impressed with what you can find. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the file access. All right, so that's this little file cabinet looking thing up here on my tab axis. And what this shows is this is going to show me all of my previous files. All right. I can come in here and I can say, hey, I want to open up this file called, City of Fort Collins wastewater details. I click on it and it opens up that particular file for me. All right. And there I am ready to work on that file. So this is just a list of previous files that we have. Now up here at the top, what you'll notice is I have some pin documents. So when I'm doing a demo for Bluebeam, these are the files that I like to use. Right, so I can click on one of those files and it'll simply open that file. And the nice thing about the pin files is they're always up here underneath the categories. And so if you're working on a project, you can create your own category for that specific project. For example, I'm doing a lot of work with the City of Fort Collins right now. So I've got their wastewater details. I want this to always be up there at the top, readily accessible for me. So I can come over here to the right where there's a little pin icon and it looks like a little thumbtack. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this. So I simply click on it and I can either pin the file. So if I simply pin the file, it goes up here under pinned. And it shows the folder that the file is in. Right? But I don't want to pin it based off of the file location because I might have files scattered throughout my network that are all associated with this particular job. Right? So let me go ahead and right click on there and I will unpin the file. And so this time, when I come over here to the City of Fort Collins wastewater details, I can pin this to a new category. And I'll just call this one City of Fort Collins. And now it's pinned up here underneath the City of Fort Collins. I've got some stormwater details. I'll go ahead and pin those to the City of Fort Collins as well. So once you get a category, it's going to be listed here. And culvert is also for the City of Fort Collins. Now, you might end up with quite a few files in here. So I've got, maybe 3 or 4 projects, and they've got 20, 30 sheets each. Well, you can always collapse up each one of those individual categories just to make it easier to see. And in fact, you can collapse up categories altogether. The recent list, you can sort that. So right now it's sorted by date. I can access it by folder, so I can see it based off of what folder they're in, or how often they're accessed, and the access history. I typically leave this to by date, but you can set it to whatever you like. So that's the file access, and I think this is a really powerful way to help you just navigate your drawing. The next tip that we have, so we're going on to tip number 4 here, is the ability to reopen files from the last time you were in Revu. So I've got Revu open here. Let me go ahead and close out of it. So I'm just going to completely close out of Revu. I'm not going to save anything. So I'm going to say don't save. And then I'm going to go ahead and launch Revu again. And what I can do, so, let's say, yesterday I was working on some files. I shut down Revu, and today I want to get back to where I was before. So this is still on the File Access tab. You can come up here to File Access, actually expand out File Access, and you can reopen files from the last session. So I click on that, and bada bing, bada boom, I'm back to where I was yesterday. All right? Really, really handy tool. All right? Now, if you find yourself doing this a lot, it's like every time I open up Revu, I want to get back to where I was, you can set up Revu that way. So I'm going to come up here to the Revu menu, Preferences, And on the general options, now if you're using 2017 or early, it's in that massive dialog box somewhere. I can never remember where it is in 2017 and earlier. But in 2018, it's just this first place you go to. There's an option right here for reopen files from last session on startup. So I'll go ahead and toggle that on, select OK. And now if I close out a review and then launch it again, it simply comes up with those pages once again. And I don't have to go through and reopen them all. So I like that one. That's the ability to reopen the files. So tip number 5, we can scale our markups. All right, so let me come over here let me open up a different drawing here. I'm going to come over here to my demo documents, and we'll open up this file here. So the first thing I have to do is I have to tell Revu, let's say I want to put a markup in here, right? And I need it to be a certain size. Okay, well, let's say, let me do this. Let's say where I've got this thing. I think this is like a chair here. I want to be able to reuse that symbol. So let me just go ahead and take a snapshot of it. So I'll come up here to my edit, snapshot, and the hotkey for that is G. So now I no longer have to go find it. I can just hit G, and I'll just draw a window around this. All right, and so let's put it on my clipboard, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in. And what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to use this symbol, but I want to be able to use it in files that have a different scale than this one does, and I want it to scale appropriately. So the first thing I have to do is I have to add this to a tool set. So let me go ahead and create my tool set. Here's my tool set. And we'll go create a new tool set. I'll just go ahead and add another one. And I'll just call this one Scaled Symbols. I'll go ahead and save it. Come on. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and move it up in the list, just to make it easier to see. All right, so I got my scaled symbols here, and I can take this markup and I can add it to that scaled symbols set. Now, when you do this, every markup on this tool set needs to be drawn with the same scale in mind. All right, so what scale was this drawn at? I have no idea, but I know that this distance between here and here is 9 feet 10 inches. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click on the little cogwheel for this particular tool set, and I'm going to set the scale for it. And, oh gosh, I don't know what the value is, but what I can do is I can come down here and I can calibrate it. So for this particular case, right, the distance from there to there is 9 feet 10 inches. And so now when I put this in the file, you'll see it comes in. That didn't work. What? Oh, I didn't have the drawing scaled when I drew it. Let me try this again. Hang on. All right, let's try this one more time. I'll go ahead and add that to the tool chest, scaled symbols, and now when I click on it, it still comes in huge. All right, I did something wrong. I'm not sure what I did wrong. Let me go ahead and scale the drawing first. So let me calibrate the drawing. So we'll go ahead and calibrate this file. And we'll say that that is, again, 9 feet, oops, not 9 feet, 9 feet 10 inches. And so I just typed it in over here. And then let's go back to the tool set. Of course, this doesn't work for me. Go ahead and delete that. I'll go ahead and add that to my tool chest. And now it comes in at the correct size. So I didn't have my drawing scale set the same as what I drew this. So now if I decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to go over here, and this particular is at a different scale, right? So let me go ahead and change the scale here. So I'm going to say, hey, maybe this is half the scale of what that other side is. So instead of this distance equal 9 feet 10 inches, right? It's going to, let's see, half that would be it's 4 feet. What's that? 11 inches, right? And so now when I put the symbol in, you can see it's bigger. If I change my scale again, and you can have different viewports on your sheet at different scales. All right, so instead of 9 feet 10 inches, this is going to be 19 feet 8 inches, because it's now twice the scale of what was originally there. And I'll go ahead and put this in, and you can see it's now nice and small. So the symbols now react to the scale of the file. And this works great for things that you want to draw at a specific scale. I can just put them in and say, hey, this is the scale. Now put it in, and we're good to go. All right. So that was, let's see, what are we at? That was tip number 5. So tip number 6 is, I'm not sure how much I would use this one, but I think it could come in really handy. So I've got a whole bunch of PDFs here. So let me go ahead and I'm going to come over here to this one. In this particular file, I've got 17 sheets in here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to put some information in here about the PDF. So I can come over here to Documents, and I can put in headers and footers. So I'll go ahead and add some headers and footers here. Now you can choose which pages you want to do it to. So I'm going to do it to all of the pages. And then you can just put in your headers and footers however you like. All right, so I've got the header left, header center, header right for the top, and then the same thing for the bottom. And I could put, just type text in here if I want to. But down below, I can put in page number, the date, a Bates number. I think this is used more for legal documents, as well as some data about the file. All right, so down there in the footer on the left, I want to put in the page number. So this is going to be page 1 of however many. Right. Up here in the top center, or the top right, I want to put in, say, for example, the file name, or maybe the entire file path. So where is it stored? And so you can do things like this. Again, you can choose which pages to put on. I select OK, and it goes through and it puts in those headers and footers. Maybe I should have chosen a file that had fewer pages. Oops. So there's my page number. I probably should have adjusted that a little bit, but what you'll notice is it's not a markup. All right, so if I come down here to my markup list, it's not going to be listed down here as a markup. Come on. And up there at the top, I have the path to where the file is stored. So some really handy stuff there. Play around with them, see what kind of information you can put in there, see what you want to do with them. But those are the headers and footers. This next one I think is really pretty cool. So this is kind of going back to the days of, manually redlining a set of drawings. All right, so I go through and I take my red pencil and I manually redline up my documents, and then I hand it to the person that's responsible for taking care of that. And so they take a look at it, and they take a look at the first comment, and they go do whatever it is they need to do with that. Now, how do they tell themselves that, hey, I'm done with this? Well, they take out their highlighter, and they highlight it, right? And so they're changing the appearance of the markup so that they know, hey, I've completed this. Well, we can do the same type of thing here. So let's say, for example, I've got a piece of text in here. Let me go ahead and put in a Cloud Plus. All right, so I'll come up here to Tools, Markup, Cloud Plus. Shortcut for that is K. So I'll just simply type K. And let's say I want to, put cloud around here, and I'll say, what is this thing, right? Or go do this, or whatever the case may be. Now, I want to be able to change the color of this simply by saying I'm done. The way we handle that is through what's known as the status. So let me go ahead and make my markup list here a little bit bigger. Right there we can see that particular markup. And we have a column here for the status. And you can go in and create your own custom statuses. Status I. You can come in here and create your own custom status states. There we go. All right, just by clicking the little settings button. I think that looks like the sliders on a soundboard. I'm not sure why they chose that, but I'll come in here and manage the status. And so this one has some default ones. You can create your own status states, but here are the states for this particular status. I have accepted, rejected, canceled, completed, and none. So when I have completed this, I want this markup to change color. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to modify the status state. And I can simply come over here and say, yes, I want to use a color. And then what color do you want it to be? So maybe I want to change that to an orange, to make kind of like a highlighter. And then you can go through and maybe, make one that's canceled. We'll go ahead and modify that. And we'll say, hey, when it's canceled, I want it to say that it's maybe like a blue. All right. Whatever the case may be. And you can, like I said, you can go create your own custom status states here. But now if I come over here and I change the status for this, if I change it to accepted, well, nothing changes. If I change it to completed, you can see it's now orange. And so by changing the status state, I can force a different color on it. So now I can say, yep, I've dealt with that one. I'm good to go. Now, you got to be careful, because if I decide, let me change this back to accepted, well, the accepted status state didn't have a color assigned to it, so it didn't change the color of the markup. It's not that when it's this color, but when it's not, it goes back to the way it was. It actually changes the property of the markup, and it is that way from here on. I've got a third one, canceled, so if I set that to canceled, you can see it makes it blue. Really handy when you're trying to go through and make sure that, yes, I have completed all of my markups. So we can change the color of our markups based off of the status. All right, so that was tip number 7. Tip number 8, I get sick and tired of how I always having to run the commands. All right, so I'm drawing lines. I'm drawing lots of lines. I'm putting in lots of text boxes, whatever the case may be. Right, so I want to use a specific markup here. All right, so I've got let's do the engineer review text box. All right, come in here. Oops, that was too small. Let me try that again. All right, engineer review text box. I draw my text box, and this is my first comment. And now I want to put in another comment, so I have to come back over here, find the markup again, and this is. Oops, let's see if I can type well. This is my second comment. And then I have to run it again. So there is the ability to toggle on and off the repeat command. All right, so the repeat command is a couple of different places we can get to it. I believe it's under Tools. There it is, and Reuse. So I can toggle on and off the reuse markup. So now when I come over here and I put in my text box, right? Here's my third, and then I can just go draw fourth, et cetera, right? Now, another place we can toggle this on and off is in one of the toolbars. Now, there's 3 special toolbars in Revu. So if I come up here to Tools, Toolbars, I have these 3 up here at the very top. So I have the Properties toolbar, the Navigation bar, and the Status bar. By default, in the profiles that come with Revu, the status bar is turned off. So if I go ahead and turn that on, right down here at the bottom, I can now have a button to toggle on and off, reuse the markup tools. All right, I can also choose snap to markup, snap to grid, snap options as well. They're right there. So that was feature number 8. So I'm kind of curious which one you guys liked the best. Go ahead and type that in. We'll talk about them. In the meantime, I've got a couple of little bonus tips that I'd like to go through here real quick. All right. One thing that I thought that was really cool, and I don't know if anybody else is going to find this cool or not, but I've got an engineering background. So if I come up here and I want to create a new PDF, so I choose File, New PDF. When you're creating a new PDF, you can come in here and change the size, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also this option for a style. And I can come in here and I can say, hey, I want to put a grid on here. So I want to put an 1/8 of an inch light blue grid on this new PDF. And hey, check that out. Isn't that awesome? No more having to go out and buy engineering paper. All you have to do is print it out. All right. So that's really handy. I like that. And there's some other options in here as well. All right. So as far as the grid goes, so there's a engineering grid. So if I create one that has an engineering grid, then you get the typical green engineering grid there. It doesn't cover the whole page, it just covers part of the page. But it's got the dark lines, or the thick lines and the thin lines to help you identify where you are. So I kind of like that one. And then finally, the last little bonus feature that I'm going to throw out, it's something that I just discovered recently that I thought, oh, that's cool. I'm glad they included that. Let's say, for example, you're working on a project that's international. You're dealing with people in other countries. And so I'm going to go ahead and put in a markup here. All right, so let me just go ahead and put in a call out here real quick. All right. And I say, this is my comment, but my coworker only speaks Turkish. So I've got a comment in here. Now, when I send this off to my coworker that only speaks Turkish, they're not going to know what this says. Or maybe I'm getting comments from my Turkish coworker and I have no idea what they say. So one thing that we can do is we can come in here and we can actually translate our markups. So I'll choose Translate Markups, and I can choose what language I'm coming from. So I'm coming from English, and I'm going to Turkish. And so I can translate this to Turkish. Why I chose Turkish, I have no idea. I don't speak Turkish, so I don't know if it does a good job of translating it or not, but there it is. So that's kind of a nice little bonus little tip there for you guys. So that's all I got for you. Alyssa, do we have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Brian, we do have a couple questions. Let me read you the first one. Can you delete the background?
Delete the background. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Joseph. Which background are you talking about? Not sure when that came in.
Yeah, just get back to us, Joseph, and let us know, and we can revisit that question. The next question is there a way to export custom statuses and import them on other computers?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see, which drawing was I doing that in? I think is it this one? I was doing the custom status? Nope,
it just came in about 5 minutes ago, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember which. Anyways, maybe it was the floor plan. Anyways, wherever it was, so if I create a custom status, so I can manage the status, all right? So this, if you notice, this file has a review, a migration, and an issues. So you can create custom status states, and what you can do is you can save those status states to a profile, all right? Now, one of the issues that I've run into is if your file has a custom status state in it, it will not use the one from the profile. If your file doesn't have a custom status state, then it will draw the status state in from the profile, which I'm not sure I will necessarily like. As far as exporting and importing, there's no way that I know of to do that other than pushing it out to a profile. So hopefully that helps answer the question there, Tommy.
I hope so. Get back to us if it doesn't. Next question is,
and yes, I still juggle on occasion. He had asked that question earlier.
I was going to ask you about that later, Brian. Your juggling days. Oh, we got the answer back from the background of the chair that you snipped from Joseph. Asking the question, yes. Delete the background.
So sort of. I can sort of do it. Which fine. Oh, let me just put it in here. So I can sort of remove the background. The little ticks will be a little bit difficult, but I can still do it. So if I select, so this is just a snapshot, excuse me, that I pasted back in. So if I right click on it, I can come down here to change colors. And I can say, hey, I want to change everything that's this green color to, well, nothing. Transparent. And so I've removed the background color. All right. So I can do things like that. Now, if I wanted to get rid of the little tick marks, well, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. The best way I can think of to do it right now, and if anybody has a better way of doing this, please let me know. I'm just going to come in here and basically draw in a polygon. So I'll come over here to Tools, Markup, Polygon, and I'm going to have this polygon cover those All right. And then I'll just change the display of this, and I can just do this up here. So I'm going to change, this. Well, let me do it in my properties, which I believe are right here. I'll change the color to white, and I'll change the fill color to white, and I'll change the line width to something really small. Right? And then I can just take a snapshot of this once again. So that's the best I've got as far as removing those little tick marks. There might be other ways of doing it, but basically when I throw the snapshot in, it's just an image. All right. So there we go. And then again, I can snapshot that.
Thank you. The next question is, can you show one more time where the drop down is to translate text?
Oh, yes. So that's under Document, Translate Markups.
All right. Our next question is, instead of applying new page numbers, how do you apply existing page numbers that are non-consecutive, i.e. A301, etc.?
Okay. Oops, I didn't want to mark it. If I come over here, so what I would have to do is I have to label the pages. So if I come up here to my thumbnails, so you can see this is page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I don't want that. I want that to be A102, A103, C102, C103, et cetera, et cetera. So you can come up here and you can use the Create Page Labels command, and you can label your pages this way. I'm going to just show this real quick. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I want that piece of text there to be my page labels. And you can see it now relabels those page numbers according to this piece of text that it found on each page. And then once I've done that, when I do my headers and footers, one of the options that I have is to put in the page label. So I can then add that into the headers and footers. So hopefully that answers that question. And if you don't have anything in here, you can always just go manually change your page label to whatever you would like it to be.
All right, our next question. How do you rotate text box views? My box types correctly, but when I leave the box, it turns sideways.
Turns sideways on you. I remember hearing something about this, and I don't have an answer for that one. So you just put in the text box and it rotates 90 degrees, right? I don't know. I'm guessing, and I'm not positive on this, that maybe you had rotated a text box and then you had set that text box as the default style. So when I had this question come up in a tech support question, the best solution that I had was to reset review. Now, if you reset review, it's going to reset all of your customized stuff. So for example, my toolbox here that I created, it's going to reset that as well. So this is like a last ditch effort, but if I come up here to review administrator, right, and then it's going to bring up the little, do you want to make changes? I don't know if you're going to see that or not. I chose yes, I wanted to. You can come over here to the review tab, and then you can reset the settings. I do this all the time just before I go out and do a demo, but I don't. This is like a last bit resort. So if you haven't done much customizing to your review at all, maybe that will fix it for you.
All right, our next question. Does Bluebeam have a plugin for accessing files on ProjectWise? If so, can you pull the PW specific data and a header or a footer link?
You know, Brian, I'm not sure. I've personally never used ProjectWise, and I've never had this question come up. There's no plugin that I'm aware of for review to access ProjectWise. I would go check with the ProjectWise folks, and maybe they've created something.
Okay, next question. How do you merge markups from multiple users on a document, or a document that shares some pages and not others?
So I want to take markups from multiple documents and put them into one document. So basically, you open up the document where you want the markups to be in, and open up your markup list. So that markup list is this area down here. And I come over here to markup list, markups, and I can import them from another file. Right? And then you just go browse for the file that has those markups, and I'll bring them into your file.
Very nice. Another question, can you
you guys are asking lots of questions. This is awesome.
We're getting a lot of engagement. It's great. Keep those questions coming. And our next one, can you convert bookmarks to page labels or vice versa?
Yes, I can. So again, let me come over here to the thumbnails. And when I go create page labels, one of the options is to use bookmarks. So I can take my bookmarks and create the page labels based off of the bookmarks. Going the opposite direction, I'm not sure. Personally, I don't use bookmarks very often because I've got the thumbnails and I can just go through my thumbnails. And so bookmarks, for me, I don't really use them. But I know you can go from bookmarks to page labels.
Okay, Paul is asking a question if anyone had issues with the review applications window when moving from one monitor to another. He is using the 2015.6 version. Was this fixed in 2017?
Some issues with you. What kind of questions what kind of issues are you having? Is that the next question he asked? Resizing. I'm not sure, Paul. I'm not having it. I know I was having some issues with. So I'm running off of a Surface Book, and I was having some issues with my cursor being microscopically small. And then when I updated to 2018, that issue went away. Might have something to do with that, but I'm personally not having it. So I can't answer that question for you. Sorry, Paul.
That looks like all the questions that we have.
Oh, it looks like Brian just put something up here. Love the import markups feature. We have multiple people creating red lines on paper, and then those are combined into. Nice to have the function for them to do this in PDF, then combine it into one set. So an alternative to that is just to have everybody marking up the same file via a studio session. So you can create a studio session, invite everybody to mark up the file, and they can all mark up the same file simultaneously. And then when you're done, you don't have to do anything because it's all right there in the same file. So that's an alternative for that, Brian.
Paul did follow up with his question.
This happens when moving the application from a maximized view to a smaller window in another monitor. The application window is transparent or half there. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you on that one, Paul. I'm sorry.
All right. That does look like the end of our questions. Okay, thank you so much, Brian. What a great webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I see we have a few more questions in the chat box. We're going to stay online a little while longer to answer those. So if you have an outstanding question, just stay on with us and we'll get to answering that shortly. If you have any more questions, make sure to click the pop-up at the end of the webinar to check out what Bluebeam's all about. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us. We hope we see you on a future webinar. Thank you, everyone.